In this video we learn how to filter our data frames, and so far we selected rows of a data frame only by index position or index labels. So for example, we selected the first 20 rows, or we selected all rows with the index label Michael Phelps in our Summer Olympics data set. And actually in real world, the more important case is to filter a data frame based on information in one or more columns. So for example, in our Titanic dataset, we want to filter all male passengers on the Titanic, or we want to filter all passengers that are younger than 14 years old. And first of all, before we start, let's import Pandas. And we are working with the Titanic dataset, and we will have a look at the first 10 rows here. And what we want to do now is we want to filter out all rows where the passengers are male. So in the end, we want to create a data frame with only passengers that are male. And therefore, we select our sex column, and we will have a look here at the first 10 elements in our sex column. So here you can see our sex column. And now we want to check element-wise each element if the element is male or female. And this works essentially the same way as with NumPy arrays. So let's use here the double equal sign, and let's see what we get here. We get actually here a brand new Pandas series with Boolean values. And Pandas does this in a vectorized manner, so we do not need any for loops like with lists. So Pandas checks here for each element. So let's start here with element 0. Here we have a male, and male is equal to male, so we get a true here. Then we have 3 times female, and then we get here 3 times a false, and then again 4 truths. So now here we have a Pandas series with Boolean values for each passenger, if it's a male or female. So from index position 0 to 890 here. And now we can filter our data frame, and we can pass here our Pandas series with Boolean values into spare brackets of our Titanic dataset. And this works essentially the same as with NumPy arrays. So by passing our Boolean series here within the spare brackets, we filter out all rows where the passenger is male. So let's try here. And we get here a brand new data frame with only male passengers. And what Pandas does here, Pandas checks the row-wise if we have a true or false in a row. So for example, let's go back here to our Pandas series, and we can see here, so in row 0 we have a true, and in our new male data frame we have also the row with index position 0, and in index position 1, 2 and 3 we have a false. So in our new data frame we do not have the rows with the index position 1, 2 and 3. And then again for the index positions 4, 5, 6, 7 we have a true, we have a male, and now a new data frame, we have here the rows 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So let's copy here our code. And what we can also do, instead of having here the square brackets notation, we can also use the log notation and filter for all rows where the sex column is male. So this works as well. So we have here the same result, actually, the same new data frame. And if you ask me which notation to use, I would clearly recommend the log notation, and that for 2 reasons. So first of all, with the log notation, we can also filter here not only for rows. So here we want to have all rows where we have a male. And in addition, we can also filter for columns. So we can make here a comma, and then we can say, okay, I want to have only the fair column. So for all male passengers, I want to know the fare they paid. And now here we have a Pandas series with all the fares that the male passengers paid. And with the spare brackets notation, you cannot do this within here one spare bracket. So let's go back. So here in this case, if you want to filter or only select the fare column, you have to add here another spare bracket and filter for the fare column. So this gives actually here obviously the same result. So the first advantage of the log notation is actually that you only have here one spare bracket, and the code is actually easier to read, and it's more comfortable. And here you have two spare brackets, and this is a so-called chained indexing. So what you are doing here, you actually chain index operations. So first of all, you filter the data frame for only males, and then in a second step, you select only the fair column. And chained indexing is actually a very bad way to filter your data frame, because it creates huge problems and confusion when it comes to manipulating data frames, so changing elements in the data frame. And we will see and check this later in our course, so chained indexing is not a good idea. And if you are already familiar with Pandas, you might have learned filtering here with the spare brackets notation. But this is a clear recommendation from my side. Please use here the log notation. So again, as I said, when it comes to manipulating data frames, you will have less problems with the log notation than here with the spare brackets notation. Alright, so now let's move on here. And as a matter of taste, we could also call our Pandas series with the Boolean values here, Titanic.sex equals male. We can also assign the variable mask. So here mask1. And again, here we get our Boolean series. And to increase the readability of our code, we can now also pass mask1 to our log operator here and filter our Titanic data set in this manner. So this gives us, of course, the same result, but it's a bit clearer and it improves the readability. So this is a better style than passing here the whole line here into the spare brackets. But the result is the same, of course. And what we also did here, actually, we saved our brand new data frame with only the male rows to the variable Titanic male, and we can now print and check our new data frame. We check the first 5 rows, and we have here our brand new Titanic male data frame with only male passengers. And with the log notation, we not only can filter for specific rows, but we can also filter specific columns. So we learned that before, but we can do more than just filtering, for example, the fair column or the age column. What we can do actually, we can check here the data types of our columns with the attribute Titanic.dtypes. And here we got the data types of our columns. So in the survived and passenger class column, we have integers. In the age and fair column, we have float objects. And also here in the zipSP and parch, we have integer objects. And in the sex, embarked and deck column, we have actually strings. And now what if we want to filter our data frame? So we want to have all rows where we have a male, and we only want to have the columns with numeric objects. So we want to filter for the columns survive, passenger class, zipSP, parch, and fair. And we do not want to have the string columns sex, embarked, and deck. So now we could check for each column if the D type is object and call it mask2. So now we have here for the sex column, the embarked column and the decked column are true, because here we have string objects. And then we can also filter our Titanic data frame with the log notation. So we want to have all rows, and we want to have the opposite of mask2 with the tilde symbol here. So if we would filter for mask2, we would get all columns with string objects, and with the tilde symbol, we get all columns with actually numeric values here. So let's try this one. So here we get all rows of our Titanic data frame with only numeric columns here. And we can further customize here our filtering and pass mask1 and the opposite of mask2. And then we get here all rows where we have a male passenger, and we only get the columns that have numeric data. So we have survived, passenger class, age, zipSP, parch, and fair. So here with the log notation, we can not only filter for rows, but also for columns. And with the spare brackets notation, this wouldn't be as easy as we have it here with the log notation. Alright, so now we are finished. So the key message is when we want to filter data frames based on a condition that is in a column, you should always use the log notation. So that's here a clear recommendation from my side. Alright, so see you in the next session. Bye.